Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of Cap at Home. My name is Miss Allie and today we're going to be making these super fun and really cute surprise monster cards. And the reason that they're a surprise is that when you have these awesome cards and you open up the top, there's a surprise message for the person that you give it to. So I'm going to show you how to make that. It's pretty simple, but they are very fun. So I have two different examples over here. This one is green, and we have some different faces. So I'll give you some options as we go along. But what we're going to need today is a rectangle piece of paper, and you can use cardstock or normal paper. And if you only have white paper, that's fine, because you can also use crayons, colored pencils, or markers to color in any of your white paper. So we're going to need a rectangle piece, and I have a bunch of scrap paper over here, and so if you've been doing Cap at Home projects with us, then you probably also have a lot of scrap paper, so this is a perfect project to use that. We're also going to need some scissors, a glue stick, and like I said, some markers, crayons, colored pencils. So let's get started. So we're going to take our rectangle piece of paper, and the first thing that we got to do is make a fold so it's going down about 1/3 of the way. So if you see on here, so it comes down maybe about 1/3 or 2/3 of the way on your card. So I'm going to do that. So again, I'm just going to take, let's say, I say that's a pretty good amount, so it comes down about that much. And what we want to do is actually round the edges off. And so if you want to take a marker or a pencil to draw your rounded edge, to do that, you can. I'm using marker so you can see what I'm doing, but I would use pencil. And you can actually just cut this. You don't even have to draw it out first if you don't want. But this is just what I mean. You're just going to round the sides off. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my scissors and do that. Alright. So it's not exactly perfect, but that's okay because monsters are not supposed to be perfect. So I'm going to take my other scrap paper, set that aside. And so this is the basis. This part is our head, and this is the rest of our monsters. So the next thing that we want to do is I like to take the mouth part. So this red part right here is like the bottom of the mouth. So I like to cut that shape out first. So I have some red paper that I'm going to use, some scrap paper. Again, you can use any color that you want. And I actually just like to place it in here to get a good size, get a good idea of what I want my size and shape to be. So it's sort of like actually cutting out like a big D shape, like the letter D, or like a half circle. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So I'd say that's a good shape. And I would actually gonna place that, and you want to be able to see it, so if you open your flap, it doesn't go all the way up here, but you want to be able to see it if you close the top part. So I say that's good, so I'm actually just gonna go ahead and glue that part down. I'm taking my glue stick, put a little bit of glue on the back. And again, I want to make sure that I see it when that top part is down. So again, like this. Okay. So the next thing that I like to do is add the parts of the face on the top. So that means our eyes and our nose. So for eyes, I like to take my scrap white paper and actually draw out my eyes first. You can actually just draw your eyes right on there if you want. So I'm just going to draw 2 circles on here. And I like to make my eyes kind of bigger, So I'll show you what I mean in just a second. And I just took my black marker and draw 2 circles, and then I added 2 smaller circles on the inside. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut those out. And like I said, I kind of like to make my eyes a little bigger because I think it's a little more fun that way. So I'm just cutting these out, and I'm leaving the black line because it kind of gives it like an outline. So I'm leaving it to look like that. So I'm going to set that there. And you can make any kind of eyes that you want. If you want to make a different shape eye, or if you want to make your eyes more colorful, it's totally up to you. These are the eyes that I like to make for this particular project, but you can do whatever you like. So I have these 2 little eyes. Not little, they're kind of big, but I like big eyes. So I might say I want my eyes like that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that down. So I'm just going to glue my eyes. I like to put them kind of towards the middle. And I kind of like to make them a little goofy looking. So they're not both pointing the same direction, so it kind of looks silly. Because again, this is kind of a silly fun project. So I have my eyes, now I'm going to make my nose. And so I have all the sorts of scrap paper over here, all different colors. So you can decide what color you want your nose. On this one, I have a red nose. On an orange project, on this green one, I have a yellow nose on there. So it can be any color that you want. So I think for my yellow card, I'm going to put a green nose on there. And again, I just have a lot of scrap paper. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and cut out a circle. Again, you can draw out the circle first before cutting it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. This is kind of one of those projects where the funnier shapes you got, sometimes the better looking it is. And if you don't want to do a circle, if you want to make a triangle nose, you could do that too. So let's see, I cut my circle out, and there's my nose, so I might go ahead and glue that down there. I like to put it directly under my eyes. You can make a smaller nose if you want, or a triangle, a rectangle. You could just draw your nose on if you want as well. So I have that on there. Sort of like that. And on my other 2, I actually drew some eyebrows on, but I think this would be fun to have some eyebrows kind of sticking out. So I might have some big ones up here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I think, let's see, I have this, let's see, I like this purple. So maybe we'll take some purple. And I'm just going to cut a little piece off. And a kind of trick is, so I have this purple. I'm actually going to fold it in half. And I'm going to draw the shape that I want. I'll make some big chunky eyebrows. So this shape that I have right here. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and cut this out. And the reason I fold it in half is that this way, it's the exact shape on both sides. So I have these kind of funky eyebrows, which might be kind of funny. I can decide how I want to put them on there. And it can be kind of sticking off the top of your page too. So let's say I have one kind of going like this. So they're kind of goofy looking. So I might go ahead and add these on. Again, then take my glue stick. And it's totally okay if it sticks off the page. I think it's a little more fun that way. He kind of looks a little confused, but I like it like that. Alright, so we have some eyes, eyebrows, nose. Now another thing that we have on here is some teeth. So we're actually going to cut some white scraps of paper and put it on the inner line, so it's kind of sticking out like that. So, I did on my other example small rectangle pieces to make my teeth. But you can also do triangles. So let's say I have, again, my scrap white paper. And I might do the same thing where I fold it in half. So I make twice as many. And you can, again, cut out rectangles, triangles, anything that you want. So, let me do a couple, I'll do a couple triangles. Why not? And you can make as many as you want if you want to just add a couple teeth. Maybe you only want 4. Maybe you want a mixture of rectangles and triangles. Totally up to you. So I have a bunch of these very little triangles. And I'm going to go ahead and glue these. And I'm going to add a few on there because I think they're kind of fun. So I just glue the bottom. And I glue them on like that. So I'm gluing on the edge here. And I'm going to add a couple that go all the way around this rim. So I'm going to take these triangles. And I think they're kind of silly, kind of funny. They're very fun to do. And when we get to the part where we finish it and you're going to give your monster card to somebody, this might give them kind of a laugh. This is a good opportunity, too, to use any of the colors that you really like to use. It doesn't have to be any specific types of colors. If you don't, it can be a mixture of colors. You can use anything that you want. And again, like I said, if you just have white paper, you can actually go ahead and color everything yourself. And I just cut out a couple more triangles because I wanted a specific shape. And I'm adding a few again. I'm not going to add a ton of them on here, but if you wanted to cover the whole top, you could. I think I'll add one more and call it good. Alright. So this way, when you close it, you can see your teeth and they go over our red mouth part. When you open it up, you can see that the teeth are on there like that. So I have that part, but another fun thing that we can add is a tongue. And that's always fun so it sticks out. So I'm going to set that aside for a second. And I have all these little scraps that I'm not going to use again. So I can actually just go ahead and get those out of my way now. And I have a little trash can over here that I'm just tossing them into. Alright, so we're going to make a tongue. I think a pink tongue is perfect. So we can have it kind of sticking out. Kind of funny like that. Excuse me. And so I have my tongue like this. So I'm going to take a small piece of this. Again, I have a ton of scrap paper, so I'm just using that. So I say I'm going to make this maybe a little bit thinner. Alright. And so let's say I have my tongue, and I like to round the edges on the bottom of the tongue to make a sort of rounded tongue. But you can keep a square tongue if you'd like. So I kind of have this shape. So I'm actually going to draw a line down the middle to make it look more like a tongue. And it's going to go stick out like that. Oh. It's kind of silly, but so I'll show you how to make it cool. So we're going to take our tongue, I'm going to take my glue stick, and I'm going to just glue the top back part of our tongue. Again, I chose pink. You can make this any color that you want. And I'm actually going to glue it so it hits the top edge of our mouth. Again, you can choose any color, and if you want to make it a little sideways, you can. So I just glued that down so it sticks out when you fold the top down. Now the cool thing that you can do is actually sort of curl up, almost like an accordion fold, but you're not pressing down so hard. You can kind of curl your tongue up so it sticks out. And you can actually use a pencil or a marker to round it up, or just kind of gently roll it. So it kind of gives a funny effect to your tongue. Alright, so we have these parts. Now the next thing that we want to do is add some, if you see on my examples, I have some designs going on here, and I also have some arms. So the arms are optional, but they do give a very fun aspect to your card, so we can make those. Again, they can be the same color or a different color. So I actually have this big yellow piece of paper, and I have some pink strips. I have a lot of this pink color, so maybe I'll use that for some arms. And so, like, I have this long piece of paper, so I'm actually just going to fold this in half. Trim the sides a little so it's a little bit thinner, and they're the same size. Now, these are going to be for my arms, so I know I folded in half, but I'm actually going to cut on that fold. And these are going to be my two arms on the side here. And so if you've done a project with me before, you know that I love the accordion fold. So I'm going to accordion fold my arms to give it that sort of unique look, give it more texture, and they're kind of silly looking. So again, I'm just folding the paper forward and back, so it makes that sort of texture. And I'm going to do that on both of them. And you can have skinny arms, fat arms, short arms, long arms, totally up to you, any color that you want. So I have that. I'm going to do those. And I'm going to glue those on the side, on the back side. So you can make them so your arms go up or so that they go down. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the top part. And I'm just going to press it, and it's below on the back side. So I'm just pressing it down so it sticks, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, so it kind of sticks out. I have my arms pointing down, but like I said, you could have them pointing up. Alright, and we need some fun hands. If you see on mine, I have these sort of like flower petal shapes. I'm a fan of that cartoon looking hand, so I might go ahead and do that. So again, I might just cut out a scrap piece of paper, fold it in half, and I did the diagonal fold this time to get more paper. And I'm going to draw out the shape that I want for my hand. It can be any shape that you want. You can do like 4 or 5 fingers. You can do the 3 kind of petal shape. Totally up to you. You could just add little circles on the end of them if you want. It's your fun monster. Alright. So I just have sort of this shape. And I can actually just glue these right on the ends of my hands, or my arms. So it's just adding a little hand there. So I'm going to do that on both of them. Alright, so I have some little hands for my arms, kind of fun. So the next thing we need to do is kind of decorate this little guy. So I have some different examples. I have some circles, some dots over here. I also have some triangle shapes. You can also just draw any patterns or designs if you wanted to just take your marker and actually just draw different patterns, line designs, anything like that. But again, this is a good opportunity to use some of our extra scrap paper. So again, I have a bunch of scrap paper left over from projects. So you can actually just take a few little pieces if you want. Like line them up. And you could just cut out little shapes. It could be rectangles, triangles, circles. It could be random shapes, kind of organic, funny shapes. Anything like this. And I'm just cutting like straight lines. So I'm kind of creating these squares and rectangles here. And I have a couple of different colors. You can use any colors that you want. And again, you could do a combination. You could draw on here. You could draw if you wanted. You could use cut paper. You could use glitter. You could use stickers if you wanted. Anything like that. So I just have a couple little cutout shapes that I might just glue around to decorate. Again, this is your monster. You could do a combination of both drawing and cut paper, which I like to do. So I have a bunch of these little squares over here that I'm just actually going to glue a few down just to show you what I'm talking about. This is just kind of a fun thing to do, add a little bit more design and character to your monster. You can take your time doing this. Don't have to rush. You can add as much or as little to this as you want. This is just kind of fun. Again, I'm just gluing down some of these shapes that I had cut out with my glue stick. Again, take your time doing this. And you can, again, cover as little or as much as you want. It can be totally covered. It can be just a little bit, totally up to you. And I'll show you how to add the last part here in a second. And I might add a few shapes on the top where the head is. And I'll show you in just a second here. Again, this is just sort of fun, silly, add some more decorations, more character to your monster. So you could also think about if you wanted your monster to be scary, what kind of colors you would use for that. If you wanted it to be like a sweet, loving monster, what kind of colors you would use for that as well. So I just have a bunch of squares on here, kind of add some pattern texture to it. Different colors, and I think it kind of fills up the space more. So the next thing that we need to do is add our secret message in here. So I actually like to take my white paper. Again, I have some scrap paper over here. This is just printer paper. And I'm just going to cut out a nice rectangle. And I might try and make this a little more even. By folding it in half, I can try and make the sides the exact same shape. And I just do like kind of a small rectangle because it's just kind of a short, cute message. And if you want, you don't have to do this. You could take some more of your scrap paper in a different color and kind of use it as a backdrop. So if you see, for example, on my orange, I have a little bit of yellow on the background of my little message, so you can do that. It's totally optional, but just to show you what I mean. Ooh, fell over. So I'm just going to glue my white paper on some of this scrap orange paper that I have. Again, there's only about one full piece of paper you need for this project. You can utilize a lot of scrap paper for this project. So I have it glued on here. What I'm going to do is cut around, and I'm leaving a little bit of orange so you can see that color in the background. And I'm actually just going to glue this on the inside at the very top, reaching that folded line. And you want to make sure that when you cover it, you're not going to see the message. So when you cover that top part, that fold, you won't see the message. So when you open it up, you will. And that's okay if it covers a little bit of this mouth piece. So you have that. You can go ahead and glue that down. All right. So this is your surprise message. So you can write anything in that little box that you want. I usually just write a cute little note that says just, I love you, I miss you, thinking of you, anything to fill up that space. So I just wrote, I miss you on here. And it could be anything. You could even just write a message, like a cute, or you could write a joke in there if you wanted. You can just, or you could just draw a silly little picture, totally up to you. So let's say that's your note. When you fold it down, want to make sure that it folds down. You don't see the note because it is a secret message, and we are just about done. The other thing you could do is add some patterns to your arms. If you see on my examples here, I added some more pattern to my arms, but that's totally up to you. And another option to do on the back is to write to and from or love, so you know it's to the person you're giving it to and from you and your name. So you can do that, again, because it is kind of like a card, so you can do that on the back. So let's say I did, and you can do this in any colors that you want. And you can kind of decorate the back too if you want. If you want to add some more of those patterns and colors that you had on the front side of your monster. Totally up to you. Alright, so I just wrote my little thing on the back here. And I have my silly monster. Again, you can draw more on it, add some more designs. Totally up to you. Make sure you take your time with it. And make sure you write some kind of cute message on the inside. So again, here's my cute example of my monster card. Here's another example that I have. And on this one, I have glasses. And you can totally do that. On this one, it says, I love you. And on my example here, I have my green one. Got some sort of funky eyes, and on here it says, thinking of you. And again, I have my circle patterns designs. I have markers and cutout patterns. So these are some of the examples that I have for you today. So once you finish up your card, doing all the steps, decorating it, and adding your special note and your name on the back, then you are ready to give your surprise monster card to someone. It could be a family member, it can be a friend, it could be a neighbor, just a kind of a fun way of say thinking about you, miss you, anything like that. So before we're totally done, we want to make sure that we clean up. So if you have some tiny scraps that you're not going to use anymore, you want to make sure you throw those away. If you have your bigger scraps that are still usable, then you want to make sure you save those for another project like this, in case we need some more scrap paper. And you want to make sure all your markers and your glue stick have the cap on them. And then once your space looks as good as it did when we started, then you are all set to give your special card to somebody else. So thank you for watching today. And I appreciate you watching our Cap at Home videos. Make sure to check out any of our other videos that we have on our Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook page. And stay tuned for at 1 and 2 p.m. to see more live art tutorials. Thank you.